It was just another Tuesday afternoon at a small cell phone store in Houston, Texas in 2017. Customers browsed phones, asked about plans, and chatted with employees. Everything seemed perfectly normal. Then John Bell walked through the door. To most people, Bell looked like any other customer. Quiet, maybe a little nervous, but nothing too unusual. However, one employee named Karina Leon noticed something was wrong. She had worked in customer service for years and trusted her gut. The way Bell moved, the way he looked around the store, the way his eyes focused on the cash register instead of the phones, everything screamed danger. Karina didn't wait to find out what Bell was planning. She had heard so many cases like that which never ended well. She never wanted to risk her life nor that of her customers. She made a split-second decision that would change everything. Then she did something brilliant. She stepped outside herself, pulled the door shut, and turned the lock. John Bell was now trapped inside the cell phone store, alone. At first, Bell seemed confused. He looked around like he couldn't believe what just happened. His robbery plan had fallen apart before he could even start, but confusion quickly turned to anger. He was frustrated. It felt like a dream, but that was his reality. Locked in a store he planned to steal from, Bell began pacing back and forth inside the store. He marched up to the locked glass door and yanked on the handle. When it didn't budge, his frustration exploded. He started kicking the door over and over, trying to break the glass. His kicks echoed down the street, but the door held strong. The customers and employees stood far away, watching this grown man have a complete meltdown. Every kick, every shout, every desperate attempt to escape. They saw it all. They had called the police and they're on their way. The young man was in there going through all different stages of grief. Clearly he was grieving his loss of freedom. When kicking didn't work, Bell tried a different approach. He started waving at strangers walking by on the sidewalk. He pressed his face against the glass and shouted, "Help me! Please open the door." He begged anyone who would listen to let him out, knocked on the door hoping someone hears him from outside. But nobody helped him. Everyone outside knew exactly what was happening or just didn't care. They weren't about to help a criminal escape. Bell's desperation grew worse by the minute. At one point, he actually dropped to his knees and pressed his hands together like he was praying. He begged for mercy through the glass. But there was no way out. 20 minutes passed. 20 long minutes of Bell trying everything he could think of to escape. He kicked. He pleaded. He even tried to find another exit. Nothing worked. Finally, all the fight left him. He stopped kicking the door. He stopped shouting for help. He just walked over to the glass, leaned against it, and stood there quietly. It was like he finally understood that his plan had completely backfired. When the police arrived, Bell didn't even try to resist. He was exhausted, physically and emotionally drained. The officers walked into the store, put handcuffs on him, and led him away. The same crowd that watched him beg for freedom now watched him get arrested. John Bell was charged with attempted aggravated robbery. Even though he never actually robbed anyone, walking into that store with criminal intent was enough for serious charges. He eventually pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. In prison, Bell wasn't the confident man who thought he could easily rob a phone store. He was just another inmate who made a terrible decision. According to prison records, he struggled with anger issues, just like he showed that day when he was trapped in the store. Years later, when Bell finally talked to reporters, he admitted that those 20 minutes inside the cell phone store changed his life. He said it was the longest 20 minutes he had ever experienced. Being trapped, knowing everyone could see his failure, forced him to face what he had become. Today, John Bell has served his time and been released. He lives quietly now, working simple jobs and trying to rebuild his life. There are no big opportunities waiting for someone with his criminal record. He learned the hard way that crime doesn't pay. It just humiliates you. For Karina Leon and the other employees, this story proves that quick thinking can prevent disaster. By trusting her instincts and acting fast, Karina stopped what could have been a dangerous robbery. She turned the tables on a criminal who thought he had the upper hand. The story of John Bell is a perfect example of how not all crimes end in dramatic shootouts or high-speed chases. Sometimes they end with a locked door, a frustrated criminal begging strangers for help, and the cold realization that you're trapped by your own bad choices. John Bell thought robbing a cell phone store would be easy money. Instead, it cost him his freedom, his dignity, and 5 years of his life. All because one brave employee decided to lock him in instead of letting him lock everyone else out.